Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, where today I would like to discuss with you what might possibly be my new favourite sidearm, and that is the ASG USW A1. So, aside from being a mouthful, the USW A1 is actually based off of a B&T product. So I suppose the full title of this would be the ASG B&T USW A1. A lot of letters, seemingly in a random order. But this is actually based off of a real-world firearm produced by B&T, predominantly, I understand, produced as a need for a law enforcement role. If you've ever watched lots of cop dramas on TV and that kind of thing, you will see that sidearm, usually more of a Glock, that kind of thing, they have a role to perform. They use them in tight circumstances, as a pistol would be used. Occasionally, however, though, they might need to take a longer, more precise shot. And that's where this comes in, because as you can see, the B&T USW A1 comes with a little spring-loaded brace that you can fold out. Being from B&T, this actually isn't too dissimilar to the setup on an MP9. To me, feels very similar, certainly in the way it articulates out to the side, and then to fold it back, you just use the little push button on the left-hand side, which is a little bit stiff on mine and could use some lubrication. Suffice to say, very MP9-like to me. But yeah, getting back to the point, they pull the brace out, they can hunker down onto the weapon. You can see I've got an optic on mine, and they can take those longer, more precise shots, get a little bit more range and accuracy out of their pistol. What does this mean for us airsofters? Not a lot. Aside from having a very cool replica of a law enforcement sidearm, it's probably not a lot of use to us, is it? Let's be honest. We're not getting enough recoil from the sort of slide action of a pistol to warrant needing it to be braced. But yeah, super cool, and who wouldn't want it, really? I've pulled it out just to use it on several occasions, certainly in CQB sites. It doesn't make me any better a player. Yeah, nice little feature, very cool to have. You might be asking yourself, how will I ever holster such a beast? Because it's going to be too big for a lot of holsters. And that is true, which is why you can purchase this little universal service weapon holster. It's not so much a holster as a quick release system. I just wanted to mention it. I will do a full roundup of the system in question in another video, because it is very good, and I've transferred this to other sidearms as well and used it in conjunction with SIGs and stuff like that. Anything that has essentially that sort of pick rail at the bottom, you can mount it to and use it with that, and it makes a nice little quick release system. As I say, we will touch upon that in another video. Let's get back to the pistol in question. Produced by ASG, and as such it has a lot in common with my favourite ASG pistol, the Shadow 2. The Shadow 2 obviously is a competition pistol, very well balanced, really snappy and nice performance on it. This doesn't have that snappy feel. It could be down to the you know, let's face it, the balance of this pistol. It feels slightly clunkier. Not slow, don't get me wrong, but when paired with the Shadow 2 feels like the snappier option. This actually performs very, very well. It utilises a lot of Shadow 2 components inside, and certainly the Shadow 2 magazines as well, which of course are CO2. It's worth pointing out as well that ASG now produce an extended magazine for these pistols as well. These are green gas though, not CO2 however, but it's really nice to have that extra firepower at your disposal finally with these two pistols, and certainly looks really cool on this one as well. Where else does this differ from the Shadow 2 then? Well, let's start up at the front, and you will see that I have a little Ace Tech tracer on this, and that's because this comes as standard with 14mm counterclockwise threads on the outer barrel. You do get a little cap with it as well, I believe, but suffice to say that just makes tracers and stuff like that, and utilising in CQB environments, that little bit more viable. Coming back along the slide, it's a chunky old slide. You have these serrations, or I'd actually say it's more ribbed for your pleasure. That makes, with this sort of flared section we have here, it actually makes racking this pistol, even with gloves on, even in the wet, super easy. We also get what is really the selling point of the USW A1, aside from the brace, is the fact that all of this mounts over the slide. So even on, if you put an optic on any other pistol, it obviously reciprocates with the slide on the top. Not so with this. You can see that the slide moves independent of our optic at the top. This is like a bridged system. The idea being that if you're attempting to engage a target and your reticle is essentially sort of moving with the slide, you lose that instantaneous engagement or ability to re-engage after each shot, because the slide's bouncing around as well. Or the optic is bouncing around on the slide. With this, everything stays perfectly still. If you're bracing the weapon as well, you have a really solid platform with which you can look down through your optic and engage those targets. It does have a lot of viability and a lot of logic behind it, certainly for real-world firearms and law enforcement. Again, for us airsofters, probably isn't going to make the world a difference. At the distances we're engaging people with pistols anyway, if you can't hit them without all of this gubbins, there's something else wrong. And it certainly isn't going to be the pistol. As with the Shadow 2, I'm hugely impressed with this setup and how consistent it is. Well, the final thing really, we get a really nice rubberized pistol grip here. Slightly overlarged, much like the Shadow 2, obviously because we're using Shadow 2 magazines as well. We have a thumb recess up here which works around with all of this gubbins at the rear, and just it feels really comfortable. And the weapon, you'd think, you know, perhaps it's slightly unbalanced because of all of this, but in actuality this actually serves to make it feel very balanced in all. With some pistols you find they feel slightly front heavy. Obviously this is not the case with this thing. Yeah, hugely impressed all round. Really fallen in love with this thing, both for CQB, keeping it on my hip in the woodland environments as well. With the extended magazine, you do, even though it's only single shot, you do kind of feel like you're running a little mini SMG sort of setup. Perhaps not as viable as an actual SMG or one of these sort of pistol carbine kits you can get. Certainly not with a Glock 18 or an AEP-01. But yeah, suffice to say, really nice to use. It shoulders remarkably well for such a small thing actually, and you do, you know, you can fool yourself into thinking it's doing a good job for you. Like I say, the reality is it's all show really for us. But yeah, really nice pistol, really well performing, hugely impressed with it. So that's been my look over the ASG B&T USW A1. If it's been of any help to you in a future purchase of said pistol, or if you've just enjoyed my nonsensical ramblings, then as always, a like and a subscribe is always welcome, guys. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.